welcome back to this Freaky Friday edition of Liquid Lunch on Newsmax TV. I'm John Tobacco, coming to you live from the Newsmax headquarters in Midtown Manhattan. We are at the Question Tequila Studios, where we are every day, Monday to Friday, from noon to 1 Eastern. And not only is it a Freaky Friday, but this is a Frankless Friday segment, because we're going to mix it up today as we do every day. It's usually a Republican and a Democrat, but today we have a Republican and a Libertarian, and Dr. Murray Sabrin, the author of Why the Federal Reserve Sucks, joins us again to mix it up with our longtime friend and frequent contributor, Republican strategist Rich Hoffman joins us also. So, guys, there's all this craziness going on. Trump is taunting the Democrats. He's calling out the squad, talking about Baltimore being rat-infested, which is, I think it's factual. But he kind of went at it last night in a much more vague way at his rally in Ohio. He didn't name Elijah Cummings. He didn't name any particular congresswomen. But here's a little clip from what he said last night in Ohio.
Democrat lawmakers care more about illegal aliens than they care about their own constituents. They put foreign citizens before American citizens. We're not going to do that.
So, Doc, I want to ask you first, and then we'll hear what Rich has to say. But he didn't name anyone in particular, but it does seem like the Democrats these days are more concerned about health care and voting for illegal immigrants than their own constituents.
Well, let me just put it on the table. Next week is the 70th anniversary of my family, including me, coming to America from war-torn Europe in 1949. And so we had sponsorship. I think that's the best way to get immigrants to come to America, to be part of America, to learn our customs, learn our laws, become part of the economy. And if we had sponsorship for all the legal people who want to come here, I think that solved the problem. And my father was vetted in West Germany because he was a partisan in his native Poland, fought heroically against the Nazis, and he was completely vetted because they didn't know if he was a communist, because he was coming from communist Poland in 1946.
Is there something to this sponsorship thing, Rich?
Well, there might be. I think it goes more towards a merit-based immigration system, which is partially what Trump ran on and has been, I think, growing in Republican circles is the way to change the legal immigration system, especially with getting rid of the favoritism towards family reunification, which is just if some relative is here, you're going to get a preference over someone who could be, a PhD.
So does we've had people on like entrepreneur Reno Apria, who owns a bunch of restaurants. He was a legal immigrant, and he talked about how his dad had to stay in Italy for a year and serve in the army before they would let his dad leave. And the mom had to prove that she had a job here in America and she had somewhere to live. And
well, it depends. What year was that?
Yeah, I'm saying that was 50 years ago.
Yeah, it was before the 1965 Act that took away, all of these restrictions and just made it a free-for-all.
But it sounds like what you're talking about, Doc, also, that there was people, you had to say, hey, I have a sponsor. I'm going to be with them. And why is it that Democrats think that people should just come in freely and get unmitigated services, but yet they're not focused on their own district?
Yeah. Within the libertarian movement, if you want to call it that, there are differences of opinion on immigration. There are people who want open borders, there are people who want restrictions. And so we should have an honest, civil discussion nationwide of everyone about what do we want America to be over the next 70 years? Because I've been here for 70 years. What's America going to look like for 70 years? No one has asked the question. If we have more immigrants, what will that do to the culture of the country? And no one wants to talk about that because they think it's a verboten subject.
The people that were coming here before the 65 Act that Rich was talking about, they wanted to learn English. Yes. They wanted to be American. And it seems like now, like our Democratic leaders want to change languages. They don't want that to Americanize
the Democratic leaders just see this as future votes that they're importing.
That's right. That's the way I see it. So the one person Trump hasn't attacked by name is Joe Biden. But let's take a look at this clip with Trump.
They would love to see a guy like Sleepy Joe Biden, who has no clue what the hell he's doing. They'd say to Sleepy Joe, sir, just sign right there. Oh, okay. I'll sign. We've been losing hundreds of billions of dollars a year to China. It has to stop, and they understand that.
So this is the first time I've seen him really pick out Biden. He's kind of been trying to frame the whole Democratic Party by the squad. What do you think about him going after Biden now?
Well, I think Biden's a fairly easy target for him because he's not as energetic as the other candidates, and he's part of the old Washington establishment. Listen, he was first elected in 1972 as a U.S. senator, and he's as left-wing as they come, but his persona is not as radical, if you want to use that term.
Tries to portray himself as
I mean, the
Joe.
Democrats really believe in this overbearing welfare state, and they bought into this notion that we've got to save the world with troops and missiles and bombs around the world. And Tulsi Gabbard, to her credit, has been a staunch anti-war candidate. She called out Kamala Harris the other night about...
I thought she did really well.
She did great.
She really did well in that. Rich, you spent a lot of time down in Washington working with our congressman from the 11th District in Staten Island, New York. What are your observations on Joe Biden?
I think Joe Biden has been fairly steady in the polls the entire time, except for after that first debate. He had a slight dip, but has almost completely recovered it. And if the field stays this large, Biden will sneak through the nomination with 30 to 40%. A lot of people forget that he has a lot of support from African Americans who were supportive of Obama and view him as like a continuation of the Obama presidency. And if someone like a Warren cannot get traction with African American voters, especially in a place like South Carolina, they're not going to win the Democratic nomination.
I'm going to tell you, I have my cousin Mitch. He lives out in Idaho. And he and his wife very anti-Trump. They did not like Trump at all. Even stopped talking to me for a little while because I was so pro-Trump. And he texted me yesterday and he said, if I were a betting man, I have Trump at 1-5 to win this thing. And then he told me something very telling. He said, I asked my wife, who are you going to vote for? And she said, I think I'm going to vote for Trump. And this is someone that 2 years ago, both of them were like totally anti-Trump. But I think just seeing the whole field, even people who wouldn't tell you in a poll, they're kind of leaning towards like, I'd rather be with Trump than people who would just want to give immigrants.
The more they see the Democratic field, especially in these debates, it's become a who can be more liberal and left-wing than the other one. You wouldn't recognize these debates 10 years ago. You would no Democratic debate would sound like what we've seen.
No, it's almost like now Joe Biden's even turning on Obama because he can't stand by a lot of the things he did.
What we're seeing
would be a big mistake.
What we're seeing is the Bernie Sanders view of policy taking over the Democratic Party, because he had traction in 2016, and now people feel, well, if Bernie's going to say this and he did so well in 2016, I better say something similar, because the left-wing ideas is attractive to a lot of people out there. That's why we have all these big government programs, $4 trillion of spending. This new budget deal that Trump signed on to is an abomination. It's not fiscal conservatism. It's democratic spending on steroids.
I think fiscal conservatism has gone out the window for the foreseeable future.
So in 1971, I concluded, when I was a young person, that there's one party in Washington, and it's the Washington Party. It's not the Democrats and Republicans.
Yeah, probably right about that. And, you know, one of the things we try to do on this show, the reason we bring on Republicans, Democrats, Libertarians, is because there's no place where I call them the purple people. They have some reds and some blues, right? Like me, I don't care about sexuality. I don't care about marijuana, but I'm pro-gun, and I'm pro-capitalism, right? We try to talk to the purple people, and they're unrepresented. That's the party we probably need, because that's what most of the people I know are. I want to thank Dr. Sabrin for joining us for a second segment.
Thank you.
Don't hassle the Hoff ever, because when we need him, he's here, boom, in the blink of an eye. And Republican strategist, libertarian professor of finance from Ramapo College. Join us today on this Freaky Friday to mix it up, and our guests know where the rub